Welcome back. I'm Robert Ridpath from Health Synergy. If you've been following along in this video series, you'll remember that in the last two videos, we've covered some really key and important things to getting more out of life, more success, and so on. And if you haven't, I would suggest you go back and watch those videos first. But as a quick recap, in video 1, we talked about and discovered this idea of self-talk and these little voices we have in our head, how they run so much of our life and why they're so important. We talked about an overview of them and the impact of self-talk on our life and the results we have. And then we moved on to video 2, and this layered upon that and it expanded. And in video 2, we looked at this idea of how self-talk manifests itself in our life. And we talked about this equation, how our thoughts and feelings lead to actions and the results we have in our life. And that was really kind of key. And these results are things like our success, the impact on our relationships, on family, and so on. And then we started digging a little deeper, and we started talking about how if we try and shift, this inner voice says, I already know that, or I don't need this information. So we started talking about beliefs and how beliefs from our past shape our future results down the road. And that if you wanted new results, if you want to change things in your life, you need to change your underlying programming and your beliefs. And so now we're going to go deeper into this, and we're going to look at and get a more powerful, if you will, understanding of how these things all jive and work together. And so today I've got a question for you. How do you describe yourself? Do you describe yourself by your emotions or your feelings? Or maybe by your job title and your role? Or maybe you describe yourself by your spiritual beliefs? Or maybe by your accomplishments? Or maybe even by your family name or where you're from? You see, how we describe ourselves is and has a huge impact on the quality of our life and the results that we have right now. And it impacts our happiness and our success. So the reason I've made this training series for you is to give you a deeper understanding of this self-talk and why it's so important in your life. So you can take back control, reduce your overwhelm, and get more direction in your life. Also, I want to help you reduce your stress, your anxiety, and boost your mood. And have more meaning and direction of your life, of course. And I also want to share some of the things to watch out for. Other people won't tell you this, but this is key. And I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did so you can progress faster. And I also want to get you to proactively start taking control of your life instead of passively drifting down the river of life. And we're going to look at some doable, practical brain hacks. These are the strategies and techniques that you can apply today to get results right away and give you that greater success and happiness that you want. And remember, I've had people tell me, Robert, I don't need to do this, and that's okay, and you're fine. But then again, if you don't do this, you're never going to be able to live up to your full potential and have the true meaning, the true happiness and success that you want in your life. So by becoming aware of this, you take back control, you become empowered, and you can live more authentically, and this leads to a greater happiness, peace of mind, fulfillment, and so on. So, all the big researchers are saying this is key, as do the therapists. So now, let's go take a look at why this is so important, and we'll look at some slides. Let's go do this. So let's dive right into this idea, this concept called the congruency of behavior. And we're going to look at why this is so important in your life and how it will explain why you are where you are right now. In our life, we self-identify with labels. We have beliefs about ourselves. And what's interesting is these labels and the beliefs, they act as, if you will, a boundary, and they act as rules on how we live our lives. And they actually lead towards the actions, the behaviors, and the results and experiences that we have. And what's interesting, we will act to be congruent with our identity. And once we label ourselves, we live into it. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I want to say that again. Once we label ourselves a particular way, we live into it. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Our actions and our behaviors support our belief. So, if you did something silly and you said to yourself, "Oh, I'm a dummy," well, yes, we all make mistakes, and that could be considered, I'm a dummy. Or that's very different from saying, "I'm a dumb person." Can you see the difference there? And let's look at this. A lot of people have issues with weight issues. So, do I have extra fat on my frame, on my body, or am I a fat person? If you said to yourself, "Oh, I'm a person and I've got extra fat on my body," okay, you can go about and lose that body fat. However, if you say you're a fat person, your actions and your behaviors will support what a fat person may do. Maybe you eat more junk food, maybe you don't exercise as much, etc. So this is really kind of key. We will act to be congruent with our identity. So it's really important how we label ourselves and what beliefs we have. Now, our beliefs and the way we identify ourselves, and on the other side, we have our results, how we experience life and our fulfillment and satisfaction, happiness, and so on. How do we bridge the gap between our beliefs and our results? We do that with our behavior, with our actions, by having particular specific goals and by having a very clear vision of the future, and we have high expectations. Ultimately, we have to consciously control how we identify and define ourselves. We have to control the labels we give ourselves. We have to fuse with this new identity, and we live into the new us, and you get to live into the new you. So let's talk about removing the parking brake so you can move forward. That's what this is all about. You may be sending mixed emotions to your mind. What do I mean by that? Sometimes you might outwardly say something like, "Oh, I want to get fit. I want to have more finances in my life. I want to have a better relationship. I want to be more spiritual." And yet, subconsciously, your mind is directing your behavior so you don't do the actions, so you don't have the results you want. And this is all unconscious. And that's the part I really want you to get. This is unconscious. You don't even know this is going on. And by the way, this happens in all of us. So we all have to do this. It's just the way we're wired and programmed. So I have a question for you. How do you describe yourself to yourself? This is really key. You should be writing this down. How do you self-identify and define yourself? Because again, with definition comes rules, come boundaries, and come parameters, and this impacts what we will and won't do. Other things. Our behavior will be congruent and support our identity, be it positive or negative. And I know you're saying, "Robert, are you crazy? Why would I act in a way that might be negative or harm me or be detrimental to my forward progression and so on?" Because you don't know you're doing it. And it is so powerful, and because it's running in the background, it slowly morphs and you think you're in control, but you're not. The unconscious boundaries or rules on how we play the game of life are related to how we self-identify and the labels we give ourselves. And this impacts our vision, our goals, our expectations, everything in our life. And it impacts what we will and we won't do. And guess what? That impacts the actions we take and we don't take. That's called your behavior. And that impacts the experiences we have and the results we have right now in life. Amazing. See, that's why this is so powerful. Once you have this understanding, you can start taking control of it. And that's what we're about to talk about. So our labels, where do our labels come from? Labels like, who am I? How we describe ourselves to ourselves. They act as limitations or boundaries. They change and impact what we notice about ourselves. And this changes our behavior and our experiences. So there are labels we give ourselves. I'm a winner. I'm a loser. I'm great. I'm a dummy. And so on. There are also labels that others give us. Maybe it's our parents. Maybe it's someone in school. Maybe it's friends and so on. Maybe you did something once and now you're labeled for life. Or so it seems. And then there's societal labels. A white person, a black person, Asian person, First Nations, etc. There's so many different labels that we have upon ourselves. And our labels form our beliefs and our identity. And ultimately, these are the unconscious boundaries and rules on how we play the game of life. If you want to play by different rules, you got to change your labels, you got to change your beliefs. Because this will impact our visions, our goals, our expectations, everything. What we will or won't do, the actions we take or don't take. That's our behavior. And remember, this is so important. Our behavior will be congruent and support our identity, whether it's positive or negative. And ultimately, that leads to the results and the experiences we have in life right now. So how do you describe yourself? Some describe themselves with emotions. I'm caring. I'm sensitive. I'm loving. Peaceful, fun, hopeful, or stressed. And a lot of people that we deal with keep telling themselves, I'm stressed, I'm overworked. And guess what? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They live into those words. Some people describe themselves by their occupation, their job. I'm a doctor, I'm a designer, I'm an IT person, I'm a salesman, a taxi driver, or whatnot. Some describe themselves with the roles they do. I'm a mom, I'm a dad, I'm a teacher, a parent, a caregiver, I'm an athlete. Some use a metaphor, and these are things like, I'm the king of the hill, I'm at the bottom of the rock pile, I'm pumped, I'm stressed, I'm above ground, I'm getting by. Just think about that. If someone says to you, or you say to someone, hey, how are you doing? They say, I'm getting by. Wow. Or I'm just above ground. Well, yeah, that's better than death. However, maybe we can do better than that. Other ones are riding the wave, breadwinner, survivor, and so on. Maybe it's feedback from other people. These labels. I'm special. I'm dumb. And here's one many have. I'm worthless. When I was younger, I was labeled as trouble. And that followed me around for a decade. And it was very difficult to break that label. Some say I'm likable. And many people will say I'm anxious. Or some say I'm special needs or whatnot. Some identify by spiritual beliefs. I'm Jewish, I'm Catholic, Muslim, atheist, whatever. And so some will also describe themselves on the looks, with their looks. I'm beautiful. I'm ugly. I'm old. I'm worn out. I'm fat. I'm short, etc. You get the idea. Some will describe themselves by their accomplishments. I'm a gold medal winner, the first person to do something. I'm the author of a top-selling book, or whatnot. Or who they're not, right? You've heard these people. I'm not a pushover. I'm not a killer. I'm not mean. I'm not a redneck. I'm not an alcoholic, smoker, or whatnot. So listen to when people describe themselves, because it's easier to see this in other people and then reflect back on yourself. And some people Some people will describe themselves by their family name. I'm a Hilton, I'm a Rockefeller, or whatnot. And some will describe themselves from where they're from. I'm Canadian, I'm Japanese, I'm African, I'm Italian, Swedish, or whatnot. So the most important question that you should be asking yourself right now, and other people won't tell you this. This is a new way to look at this. Who are you versus who do you want to be? It's important to understand and acknowledge how we describe ourselves at our essence and subconsciously. Dig deep with this. Keep probing and asking, who am I? And then, very importantly, how do I describe myself? And the next empowering question is, who do you want to become? Who do you want to be? This ties into something we call the be, do, have equation. This is about becoming the person you want to be. So if you want to be a certain person, you have to have the beliefs of that type of person. So you have to think about how you describe yourself to yourself, what you will and won't do, and the actions you take. And if you are and want to be that person, and you have those beliefs and you describe yourself that way, you will do the things to fulfill that cycle. So this will come down to the choices you make, the habits you develop, and what you do on a daily basis. If you said to yourself, I'm strong, healthy, and active, well, you're probably going to get up in the morning, have a good breakfast, or have a workout. And if you don't do it in the morning, you might do it at the end of the day. Versus if you wake up and say, oh, I'm lazy and tired. Can you see how this is so important? So if you want to be a certain way, have those beliefs and self-describe that way. And then you'll start doing the things that that person would do. And then you can have the results of that person. And a common example might be here is if you want to be a loving, kind, respected person. If you have that belief, and if you have that at your essence, you will do the things that that type of person would do, and then you would have the lifestyle, the love, the caring, and so on that goes with that. Who do you have to become at your essence? Describe who you want to be and act like that person and prove it to your mind to reduce doubt. Because if your mind jumps in and says, no, you're not that person, Rob, do one thing that that other person would do and disprove your mind. You have to start taking control of it this way. And fuse with the new you. You might want to get pictures of the type of person you want to become and make a vision board. Plant a seed and water it. I would suggest you choose 3 empowering words for both a business setting or work setting and for pleasure. And find those words. And every time you go into a business setting or work setting, say a door frame, use that door frame to click your mind and say, yes, I'm exceptional, I'm respectful, I'm honorable, I'm trustworthy, and whatnot in terms of your business. You have to find 3 words you want to use to describe yourself, and do that in a social situation. Find 3 words, and every time you go through a door, boom, click off your memory and say, yeah, I'm fun-loving, I'm spirited, I'm vital, I'm engaged, I'm authentic, I'm understanding, or whatnot. You can use your phone. We all have them. So set phone reminders, post-it notes everywhere so you can see them. You have to have something called top of the mind awareness. You need continual reminders. This turns it from conscious to unconscious, and pretty soon you just start doing this and you start fusing with that new identity. Isn't this cool? Isn't this exciting? I think you should be getting really motivated by this. Be, do, and have. So who are you? How are you describing yourself to you? What words are you using? What labels are you using? And what do you believe about yourself? What is your self-image? This is key to understanding your behavior and the results that you have in life. So what are your strongest, most dominant self-describing words? So at your essence, at your core, how are you describing yourself? I want you to keep asking yourself this over and over, because it's like they say the onion, you got to peel off these layers, and finally you're going to get to the root of your description. And you have to become conscious of this. It's something you have to think about. It's not passive. And I'd like you to make a list of the words that you want to use to describe yourself moving forward. And you can do this in a few different ways. Going into a social situation, you can have maybe 3 words that you use to describe yourself. And maybe going into a business situation, you have 3 new words or different words that you use to describe yourself. And use those words before your meeting or your business meeting, and that will help you get into the state that you need. Remember, this is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Too many of us tell ourselves non-supporting prophecies, and then we go on to live into them. Remember, people are never able to outperform their self-image, how they actually believe they are. And John Maxwell had a great quote, and it went like this: if you put a small value on yourself, the world will not raise the price. So this is key to understanding. It's really important to me that you get this stuff. I've lived this, I've gone through this, and I want to help you. So in the next video, we're going to go even deeper with this, and we're going to expand it out a little bit, and we're going to look at a bigger picture, and you're going to get some great new opportunities. That video is absolutely loaded with new techniques and strategies to help you break the chains that are holding you back, to get to that next level in your life, to get the results and the success that you want. And yeah, it's going to boost your excitement and motivation. And I want to be there to help you. This isn't something you do alone. So let's go do this together. Let's go watch the next training video now.